Hello my friends. A couple of years ago I gave up my composting for worm composting, and what I'm going to do is make a worm bed, and the type that I'm going to do is going to be used for fertilizing trees. And the container that I'm going to use are these discarded waste management buckets. They went to different sizes and they just discarded these smaller ones, and in the back, I don't know if you can see it, there's round ones. Now, to keep these cooler in the Florida sun, I'm going to spray with a paint that will stick to plastic, and I'm going to use a white on this. The planters that I are using, I'm not that concerned with the heat, but the worms, I'm worried about them cooking. What's nice with these waste management containers, they're a real heavy plastic bucket and they come pre-drilled and they're free. Now, to fill this container, what you should do is add like a manure, which I don't have access to, but I do have access to black cow. And what black cow is, it's composted cow manure. So it's all organic. It's loaded with organic matter. It's moist. Should be perfect medium for the worms to grow in. This bag is 1 cubic foot. It weighs 28 pounds. I'm going to put the entire bag inside. On top of that, I'm going to add the worms. The worms arrived today. They came in this box. This is how they arrived. There are 250 worms in here. The bag feels moist. The worms are in a peat moss. Shipping takes 2 to 4 days. And these are going to go directly into the worm container. Okay, we're going to look at the worms. Now, the shipping, taking 2 to 4 days. These look moist. They look pretty active. The worms can lose up to 70% of their volume in the shipping in the 2 to 4 days. Okay, this is going to all dump in, and then what I want to do is make sure these are wet. The worms do not like sunlight, so they're getting excited here. We're going to dump these into the container now, and then they will burrow down into the compost. The worms arrived in excellent condition. I purchased the worms from WWJD Worms. He's a smaller independent worm farmer, and you can see here the price, 250 worms, $27.99. This is much cheaper than any of the other distributors or sales people that I had found. And he gives a guarantee that the worms will arrive safe. If there's a problem, they'll be replaced. I'm going to give these a bit of a soaking. This will help rehydrate the worms. And you can see these worms are waking up. To the worm bed, what I'm going to do is add some of sand. And the reason for this is the worms do need to have some grit, and that helps them in their digestion. And like I said, I prefer doing this rather than composting. Composting takes an average of 9 or so months for the material to break down. The worms can compost this in a matter of weeks. So now this is ready for any organic matter that I can throw in there. And I'll throw in a lot of spoiled fruit, peels, table scraps, and then cover it and keep it moist. Carambolas, they're blowing off the tree. They'll go in. Any paper scraps, this is the shipping paper. And if you make the don't want plastic, you make the material smaller, it's easier for them to break it down or eat the food. You can throw in papers, grass clippings. They will even eat weeds that you pull out of your garden. The composting tower that I had made in my greenhouse was very successful, and any time I weeded in the greenhouse, it all went into the composting tower, which was a worm digester. And this particular one, it is going to fertilize some of my trees. It'll be in the shade of the trees. I've taken a scrap of plywood, I drilled some holes in the top so that water could drain in when it rains, and I put a couple cleats, and this is what keeps it in register, holds it in the right position. Now what I'll do is I'll weight the top down with a couple bricks so that it can't be lifted by the raccoons. Also, these holes, what I'll do is I'll staple a piece of screen so that small critters can't crawl in. Every time I water or when it rains, it will wash the worm juice into the ground between these two trees, and it will be fertilizing. Those are just a little too high to reach. I'll share those with the birds. Banana stalk, excellent worm food. High in moisture, easily broken down. Backyard, orchid hanging around the bananas in the moringa tree. Banana stalk. Very moist, loaded with moisture. A lot of people call banana a tree. It's closer to an herb. And this stalk is part of the leaf. The banana plant, most of it is in the ground. What's above the ground is the leaf, which also makes up the stalk. also the flower petals. Some people eat these. They have a thick matter right in here where it attaches, and they kind of cook them or eat them like an artichoke. But leaving these lay on the ground, at least down here in Florida, they make little bowls that capture water, and it's a perfect place for breeding mosquitoes. So throwing them in here is a perfect solution. Also, the flower has tremendous nutrients in it, and this will add into the fertilizer. This burlap is free. It comes from a nursery. Whatever they get in it, they cut the bag open and throw the bags away. And what I'm going to do is cover this with the burlap, wet it, and that'll help maintain everything in there and keep it moist. Thanks for watching, my friends. Bye-bye.